Welcome to the Build Your Base podcast. My name is Jack Thomas. I'm the host of the show, and we are joined today by Coach Remie, who is one of our new coaches at Base. And Remie has a great story. She has some struggles that she wants to share today, which I think will be really useful for the listeners. And also, she's a new coach at Base. She's made a decision to step into the fitness industry. Many young people want to do this, so I think there's a lot we can learn from her on that as well. So first of all, Remie, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Excited to get into your journey as well. I want to start off with the beginning of your fitness journey, really. When you were growing up, how active were you? Did you do much sport and exercise?
So I grew up, I think, pretty active. I think my parents were keen on, they always said, do one sport and do one instrument. So you just kind of had to choose one or the other. I went into swimming and then I did it almost competitively. Like I would go every weekend to like competitions, kind of a fun thing, more like bonding with my mom, that kind of thing. And so I did it all the way up to nearly high school. And then I just kind of like the love fizzled out. I was like, I like this, but I don't know if I want to keep doing it. So then I just stopped. Like it wasn't really a big decision or anything. I just like went less and less. But I was so active whilst I was doing it. Like we were training twice a day. I would go morning and evenings before school. So I was very active. And I think during that time, I wasn't really aware of like my body or just the way I looked. And I think that's the thing with like being a kid. Like you don't really, you do form your own thoughts, but it's more so external things. And I was so glad, like looking back now, I'm so glad that I didn't have social media then at that time. Because I just can't imagine like being on my phone and having to like just be so active and so aware of everything all the time. So it was when I stopped swimming that I started becoming more aware of just like my body and the way I looked, because I went from being so active to not as active at all. And I think growing up, like everyone was just like, you're like a bottomless pit. Like I could eat so much because I was so active. I was burning so many calories. I was running around all the time. And then I naturally just put on more weight because it was
when
like
you stopped swimming?
When I stopped. Because like puberty and everything else. And then but then I was okay with it because I was just like, I was going to school when I was growing up. And so I wasn't really that active at the time.
Was there an element, do you think, because you were told you had to do a sport and had to do an instrument, it was kind of like put upon you? Did that contribute to it kind of fizzling out with you rather than it being your own decision, do you think?
I think so for sure, because I think the most important thing is that you love it and you want to do it every time. And because I was starting to dread it almost, that meant that I didn't actually enjoy it. And so then I was just like in a bad mood all the time, and then it was affecting other things. But I was really lucky. Like my parents weren't forceful about it. They were like, well, if you don't like it, then there's no point in us making you go anymore. And I already did well. I had fun with it. And I was just like, I want to focus on other things now. And then while we were swimming, like there was a bit of strength training involved. So they would call it land training. It was kind of different exercises that would support. Like we were like 12 and like I didn't really care about like core strength, like it wasn't, so by the time I had stopped swimming, I really didn't know anything at all about like exercise and strength training or anything.
And what was the instrument they made you do?
Piano.
Okay. Did you keep that up?
Sometimes now, but not as much. Yeah.
Okay, so you had your swimming, you had your piano. And I think actually it's an interesting one to reflect on, because even in adult life, if something is kind of forced upon you, if you don't make the decision to change, if it's your partner pressuring you, or sometimes your children might be worried because you might be having health issues, but unless you've made that decision to make the change, it's important to consider as a coach as well, we can't force our goals and ideas onto our clients. They need to really be the catalyst and the source for that. And only then can you really make long-term lasting change. I think that kind of applies really to all ages. Okay, so you kind of stopped swimming. You said you were still kind of eating as if you were swimming.
Yes.
So talk us through kind of how that was going into your teenage years and, how you continued your fitness journey into then.
I think I went from a space of being very, they call it like body neutrality. Like you just exist in your body and you're not focused about it. Like I was just going about my day-to-day life. And it wasn't until COVID started and then I went into lockdown. That was when I really had that feeling that you mentioned that I want to change. It's like I have so much free time on my hands. Let me start doing home workouts.
So this is like 2020 going into lockdown,
yes,
right?
I was 15, 16 during that time. And there were a lot of YouTubers, kind of fitness YouTubers who started these trends. And it was like, get abs in 2 weeks or slim your thighs, all that clickbaity title thing that naturally, like I just, same as everyone else, I think around my age was like, I want to try this.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, looking back on it, you can't spot reduce fat. You can't get abs in 2 weeks. But it was a fun introduction to working out and home exercises, and just, like I was doing planks for the first time, and I was learning how to, what a push-up was. And it was a fun time, and I really did like it until it almost became obsessive, because, everyone would like share their progress, and they'd be like, some people would say they did get abs in 2 weeks, which, a part of it is just like water weight that you're losing in the beginning. And also, there was like that peak of newbie gains of like, I never worked out before, so now I have. So I'm feeling a lot better. I'm more confident. And so that was kind of what I did for maybe nearly about a year of
So
like
you're doing
just
at-home
at-home workouts.
Okay. Yeah, I think there can be so many, sometimes maybe unintentionally destructive and toxic
Yes.
messages that are put out. I remember some of the ones that were happening, you just sort of see it around on the internet, like 11 lines. There's a friend who owns a female-focused studio, and she was talking about women now want these 11 lines. It's like two, not abs, but two lines or 3 lines, I guess, one in the middle to kind of start to shape your abs. And so you have this ideal that you go for, which for your body type just might be very difficult or impossible to do anyway. The other one I remember was the gap.
The thigh gap.
The thigh gap, right? Again, just some thing that I guess some influencer probably started talking about, and it just caught on. And again, if you don't have the right body shape for that or body type, that might be literally impossible, or at least very dangerous to get you into that particular shape. So I think the internet's kind of guilty of that. And, I was lucky. I'm older than you, of course. So when I was growing up, I didn't have any of this really, and quite grateful for that. So talk us like, okay, you had a year of doing online workouts, kind of being pulled into these different messages and different ideas. How did that then progress and develop? And did it become like a negative?
I think in the beginning, the intention was there, and it was so positive. Like, it was such an exciting thing for me to have something to work towards. I was very disciplined with it. Yeah, like I was isolated. Every day I would do a couple videos here and there. Like, it was so fun. It was so new. And then I think same with actually a lot of the clients that I see as well. You almost want to get results as quick as possible. And I think it's a very natural thing to do, especially when you're so new to your fitness journey. So I was like, let me just eat less. The same way that so many people think, oh, if I want to tone down and slim down, let me just eat less. And so it was a very gradual thing. It would be like, let me make better decisions. So the intention was there, but then I was just starting to cut out quite a lot of things.
Okay.
And I almost became like vegetarian, which is very kind of unlike me at all. And so I was just cutting out things here and there and here and there. And then it naturally became very negative. And then eventually I was diagnosed with anorexia. And I'm so lucky that it was caught onto very quickly, because I think the people around me, like my parents, they were noticing things. School was noticing things. And I felt very lucky that it was so early on before it had progressed to something that could have been so much more damaging and so much more harmful. And then, so that was kind of like the worst where it was at. And then during that, like kind of getting diagnosed and all of that as well, they were like, you have an exercise addiction. I was like, I didn't even know this could be possible. Like, I thought exercise was such a good thing. How could you be addicted to something that was, like I had thought was such a good thing? And it took so much time and reflecting. And I think social media played a really big role in that, because I had to shift the content that I was consuming from like kind of watching people like obsessively working out and all that to then like, actually, wait, I want to be a bit stronger. Like, I want to get better. I want to feel better, but also I need to see people who are also doing this. And I think there is quite a pipeline of kind of young girls who struggle with eating disorders who then get into strength training, because it's a way of like reclaiming that loss and that like what was taken from you, and like, I actually want to be quite strong. And so I think I also kind of fell into that. I started lifting more with a coach at school, and that was great. And that was the first time that I was like, oh, like I have more goals, like I want to feel better, I want to be stronger, I want to grow my glutes, I want to look more toned. I think it was just nice to reclaim that and shift that focus.
Well, you shifted it from basically aesthetics, right?
Yes.
Want to look a certain way to something which is more about, for me, health, actually.
Yeah.
I want to be strong.
Yeah.
Right? I want to perform better. And I think that's the way, I've been in the fitness industry for 15 years, and I've seen that change a lot. Just generally, I think the masses want to perform better now. 15 years ago, there weren't many Thai women that would do strength training. Now our strength training classes are majority female. So there's definitely been this massive shift, but at the same time, there's still a lot of people that get sucked into the aesthetic side of it. I think especially when you're younger, you're kind of more susceptible to that, I think. And it's definitely a message which is, even though more people are doing it for performance and health, still a really important message to get out. What would you say to someone who's kind of where you were sort of 5 or 6 years ago and starting to get, maybe a little bit fixated on just how they look, similar position to you. Any messages for someone at that stage?
I think it's good to have goals and it's good to want things and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have aesthetic goals. Like if you want to slim down, but also a big lesson I've learned is that it can't be a dream body if it's a nightmare to maintain. Like it shouldn't require you waking up and going on like insane long runs and having to starve yourself and say no to things. And I think right now, especially at where I am and like the position that I am in my life, I don't want to be saying no to social gatherings and like going out for drinks with my friends and having that extra bite of dessert, which sometimes I do understand if your goals are more strict and if, you're bodybuilding or something like that, that's a different story. But if it's just a lifestyle improvement, fitness should be an add-on. It shouldn't be taking away from your life. And I think if it doesn't make you feel good, then there's no point in doing it because it's just you just spiral so quickly with it.
And ironically as well, the way to looking fantastic is not to just completely starve yourself and do hours and hours of cardio. You can get stuck in that trap, but the end result is actually you don't look that great and you don't look that healthy anyway. And I know it's difficult when you're kind of stuck in these kind of negative mental cycles and you think that's going to help and you get very fixated on calories. But actually, if you really want results in every area, it's better to have a much more nuanced approach to make sure that your training is actually shorter, but just very focused and very well planned. And I guess that's the role that we have as coaches to kind of guide people through this, I think. So how are you talk us through the last part of the journey, I guess, coming out of that and how you feel now today about exercise and your relationship with it?
Coming out of that, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Because I think if you go through, and a lot of women or just anyone who goes through a period of starvation and a lot of, just under eating, naturally, then you go to the other end of that spectrum. So you're binging quite a lot. You're turning to food as a comfort because that's what it was, right? It's a coping mechanism. And so I did struggle with binging a bit throughout uni. Like just when I was stressed, I would overeat here and there. But I think just finding a form of movement and exercise that works for you and really feeling safe in your own body. Like naturally everything just settled down and it felt a lot better. And I think I try to now view movement and exercise as just a tool to have fun because I'm not so strict on anything. And it's good to have goals and I want to run quicker and I want to sign up for High Rocks and get a PB, but also it's not the end all be all for me personally. And so I think it's nicer to just see it as, and I try to focus on how is this going to make me feel rather than, oh, I ate so bad today, so I need to go and burn it off, which a lot of people do and are still stuck in that mentality. And you create the cycle, and I don't want to be stuck in that cycle any longer. And once I realized it, I was like, you just need a break from it because otherwise then you're over exercising and then you're binging and then you just go in this cycle all the time. And you could be doing so much more with your time. Yeah,
for sure. And I think it's a really important message. And I think, as you've mentioned, it is okay to have aesthetic goals.
Yeah,
it's fine if you want to lose weight, that's okay. But it's really good to couple those with some performance goals as well. And I think over time, what I've seen is if you have the aesthetic goals, but then you also have the performance goals, over time, the performance goals are kind of a bit more fun.
Yeah.
And they're also a bit more achievable. Like you might want to see a certain number on the scales. Maybe that's just difficult for your body to get to. But then if you want to do a high rocks race and you actually do it and you experience that, right? Or if you want to run a 5K or whatever it might be, you can achieve that. And when you do it, there's a real sense of satisfaction. I find that in itself can help you develop a more healthy relationship rather than just, I want to see a particular number.
That's why I love our, if you come to the build classes, especially, or even base camp, like you get to log your scores into the iPad. And that's actually one of my favorite parts of doing the classes because people come in, especially on the rig exercises. A lot of my clients oh, I went up in my bench press or like I could deadlift more this day. So it's so nice to have like performance goals. And I think it shifts away that focus of like, oh yeah, women have to be so much smaller. And especially in an industry, like naturally in the fitness industry that does exist, but especially in Thailand, where a lot of the focus is on kind of women's bodies, it's very liberating to see that our clients get to focus on something else and feel stronger.
Yeah, I really love the shifting attitudes towards health and fitness. Sure. And I think for the most part, we're getting out some good messages. But I think, again, I didn't experience this when I was growing up, but social media pulls you in all sorts of different ways, right? And there's a lot of positive stuff on there and really empowering stuff. Yeah. And there's a lot of kind of quite dangerous and toxic stuff as well. So it's just kind of trying to sift that out and recentering your goals. You've been a coach now for how long at base?
It's about to be a year this summer.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So talk us through your coaching journey, how it's been at base, how you've enjoyed it.
I think it's every year, not every year. Well, soon to be every year, but every month right now it just gets more and more fun. Like I feel like I'm learning so much, especially in the beginning. It was just learning every time I would go in. I felt more comfortable. And it's almost funny to look back on it now because I used to get so nervous before each class and I would be like worrying about every little detail and how I would forget little things like starting the timer and opening the music. And now it just feels so second nature and it's so fun to go in. And the more I get to know the community and our regular customers and also new customers as well, the more I feel that sense of belonging and I just enjoy coming into work every day.
That's
so
great.
Fun. Yeah.
Happy to hear that. For someone else who's listening who wants to get involved in fitness or wants to become a coach, and I know a lot of young people do really want to do this now, give me a few little tips that they can take on board.
I would say the biggest thing is that closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't ask for something, you're never going to know. And I think that was a big thing that I'm so grateful that I was very confident in doing. Like I loved sending emails. I loved reaching out. And so when I moved back, I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Right. So I would just put yourself out there and make sure to be yourself. And eventually it's going to work out as long as you're willing to keep going and try your hardest.
So I remember we had that first initial conversation before you started at Base, and we don't look for experience really. I mean, for a certain time, we might need an experienced coach for maybe certain clients, possibly, but actually we look more for like attitude and people that are in the industry for the right reasons. That's the way that myself and Jeff, the fitness manager, have kind of summed it up after years and years. Are they in the industry for the right reasons? Which is basically you really want to help people get fitter, stronger, healthier. You really enjoy that. You really love that. And what we found over the years is some coaches that just love their own training and are kind of a bit more focused on their own journey, maybe don't like helping other people, and that doesn't really sort of excite them. So that was something that even though you had little experience really kind of shone through. And it's been great to have you on the team. You know, you're doing a great job with the classes and the clients. And yeah, it's really great to see. Any final words for someone who's, maybe struggling a little bit now? Any last tips? I guess, in summary for me, the big one is performance goals over aesthetics goals. I think that's a good take home. Even if you have the aesthetics goals, still have one strong performance goal at least. Any kind of final words for someone?
I would say the best way to be a teacher is to learn. I think that's something that I continue to try to do every day, whether it's joining our own base classes with other like fellow coaches, but also at different gyms and different types of training as well. There's always things that you can learn from other coaches and other fitness instructors. And then you can change it into make it your own way, or there's a move that you like or the way they say something. I think always being open to learning keeps you super humble. And I think that's what makes me try to become like the best version of myself I can be. That's
great. I like that tip because it actually works for budding coaches that want to learn more about the industry. But actually, I think there's a lesson there for people to just kind of enjoy your fitness journey.
Yeah.
Make sure you enjoy it, try new things. Yeah. Myself and the person that edits these videos, Viva, behind the scenes, we're talking about the trend at the moment for the Lumpini Park aerobics.
Yes.
Right? And it's just such a cool thing. People are having a great time. They're having fun with their movement. It's a free workout in the park. And I think it's really cool to see people just like kind of having fun with fitness. And I think that's key. Should be something that excites you, you have fun with, and you can look forward to as well. So I think that's a good message for everyone there. Thank you, Remie. This has been awesome to have this chat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the great work you're doing at Base and excited for the future.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.